Hello, Dustin.
Hello, Hooper.
So sorry it took me a minute for us to be able to talk about this movie tonight. I just got Netflix back.
Ah, okay, cool.
So we're going to talk about some Netflix stuff probably coming up while I have it.
Yes.
So we're in a 2-month period where I've got the like full blown like $20 a month Netflix package, because if you remember, I had to like fight my kids for the screen constantly.
Yeah.
And so when we got rid of that, I told my wife, like, the next time we get this, we're just going to pay the full amount. I'm tired of having
fighting over
screen limits and garbage like that no other service charges you for.
Right.
So we'll just cave and give them what they want, our money.
Yep. That's right. That's all they want. Yeah. Is that also a 4K or is it?
It is.
Okay. Cool.
But like, if your internet allows, if you have a 4K device.
Right.
Yeah. But
I've been rewatching Breaking Bad lately, and I Googled, like, will there ever be a 4K release of Breaking Bad on physical media? And evidently everybody's like, yeah, probably not, but whatever, because it's on Netflix in 4K. And I'm like, I don't want to pay the extra to watch it in 4K on Netflix. And then everyone was like, it's worth it. Like, it's so great, dude. They went back to the original negatives, and
I'm like, a transfer and everything.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. I mean, look, it's shot on film, so yeah, you can do that.
Oh, Breaking Bad was shot on film?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so everyone's like, oh, it's fantastic. Like, it's great. I think there are a few shots that are like, DSLR type stuff. It's when they get those, like, super handheld, tight, like the camera's attached to a shovel type shot. But everything else is film, and everyone just raves about it, and they're like, of course the disc would look better than this, but this looks awesome. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to pay the extra to watch it. Honestly, I put in the Blu-ray the other day, and on my 4K player, it upscales it a little bit. I mean, it's not like a true upscale, but like, I was like, this looks fantastic. Like, I think it looks better than it ever has, but it's still only 1080p. So I can only imagine what like a 4K disc would look like.
I've always been able to tell the difference between streaming and disc. Heck, even so we'll talk about the John Wick movies in a upcoming episode, but I own the first 2 movies on digital. And I watched them, and then I watched 3 and 4, which I got on Blu-ray. And I was just watching 3, and I was like, my God, the difference. Of course, the Apple app was having trouble displaying my movie that I own to me. So whatever. But even then, I was just watching Parabellum, and I was like, good Lord, like, it just looks so nice, Right. It's amazing.
It really is crazy. Like, I don't know. I understand why we're shying away from physical media, but just in terms of quality, it's so much better. I can always tell it in the blacks. Like, the blacks are so much blacker on the disc than in streaming. You get like that, like, streaming noise. Yeah. And I'm like, I hate that.
For me, it's edges. Yeah. A lot of times it's just
too.
Edges. I'm like, oh my God. And just detail,
Yeah, it's true. Everything looks a little bit smeary.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't like this. So I always lean towards physical. But so this is a weird aside. I went to Best Buy today for the first time in forever.
Oh.
And so I went into Best Buy, and I was like, today's Amazon Prime Day or whatever, the day we're recording this. So I was like, let me see if they have any good deals on movies, like, to match Amazon. And so specifically, I was going to look for John Wick. And so I went over there and looked, and like, I couldn't find the section. I couldn't find the movie section. So I had to, like, tuck my tail and ask an associate, hey, can you show me where the movies are?
Is this, sorry, this is a very male thing. Is this your equivalent of having to stop and ask for directions?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you just to ask something simple.
Just ask an associate. My wife does that to me. I'll be at Costco looking for something. I'm like, I don't know where they put the fucking peanuts. And she's like, ask somebody. I'm like, they shouldn't move it. Like,
I won't ask anybody. Well, I was on my lunch break, and so I was like, time is of the essence, and I can't, like, walk around here willy-nilly. And so I was like, excuse me, ma'am, can you tell me where the movies are? And she's like, yeah, it's right there. And I looked across and like, there they were. And I was like, oh, great. So I go over there and look, and dude, I kid you not, it was one aisle, not even front and back. It was just one aisle that had like, it wasn't even like a full aisle. It was like one of these little, like, is like two like bookcases shoved together. And they're like, there's our movies. Yeah. And I'm like, there's like 12 movies here. Like, this is awful. And then they're like, well, we have a few up front, and it's like their new releases or whatever. But I'm like, Best Buy has been struggling, right? You would think like if they made a lot of like little, $12 to $20 sales, it would make a big difference for them. Sure. But they're shying away from all physical media to go with like, buy your appliances here. Yeah. And I'm like, well, okay, once every 10 years, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me, this business model. But regardless, my point is physical media is going away. Best Buy is the proof of it. You can go look there. They don't have anything left. And that's a sad state of affairs, I think. Yeah. We're,
I think I've told you, like, I pretty much like my wife has asked me to cap my spending on any physical media just because we don't have anywhere to put it.
Sure.
And so much of what we watch is somehow available on streaming.
Sure.
And it just kills me because like right before we got Disney Plus, like in 2018 or early 2019, like we did the Disney Movie Club. So we have like probably 24 Disney films on Blu-ray. And I'm just like, what's the point now? Like they're all on, but then it's like, well, the quality is good. But then there are times where like Disney Plus is great. Like we watched Tron Legacy on Disney Plus like a couple months ago. Yeah. And I was just like, it's going to buffer. And then I was watching, I was like, no, it looks really great. So I don't know what it is.
It's a mixed bag. And certainly the convenience of it is there. Like, I'll admit, I put in the Blu-ray for Breaking Bad recently, but before that, I was just watching it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, it's just way easier. I don't have to get up and do anything.
Yeah.
And so it is.
Discs.
But like, if I'm like, okay, I'm really into this now, I'm going to go get the Blu-ray and put that in. Yeah. And I'm just going to enjoy it a whole lot more. Yeah. And so like, I agree. I have this weird thing where like what I've always done is I don't care if it's streaming. I want to own it if I want to own it. Mm-hmm. And now, just like you, I'm looking at it going, but I could watch this right now and I don't. So why am I buying it? And so like, that's my struggle. That and the idea of like, there's certain movies like Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings that I've always leveled up on. So like, you start with like your VHS copy of Back to the Future and then you graduate to your DVD and then your Blu-ray. And it's like, now it's time for the 4K upgrade. But I'm like, I can't bring myself to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I have the movie. Like, why am I?
Yeah. I just do Blu-ray and like, I just limit it very much to like I added a couple of things to like a list of stuff that like a Christmas list. Like if someone wants to get me a Christmas present, here's some Blu-rays. And I just picked like a handful of movies that like I wouldn't mind owning on Blu-ray just to have them and to be able to appreciate them. But so much of what I watch is like just okay. So it's like, I don't need to own that, which is a constant problem we run into on this show. Like everything's just okay,
Well, to talk about like, we've talked about this before, so we don't have to open up a can of worms here, but like, future editing of these movies or removal of certain films. Like, it wasn't too long ago, I bought Pinocchio on Blu-ray, the original Pinocchio. I didn't buy it. I actually redeemed points for it on Disney Rewards. So $0 out of pocket. But the point is I now have it on Blu-ray, and my wife was like, no harm, no foul, but she's like, why spend your points on a movie we have on Disney Plus? And I was like, well, because movies like that, I feel like are likely to be re-edited. Yeah. They're likely to remove the, cigar smoking from it or whatever. And it's like, I just want to own it so that like, that's the version, and like nobody can take that from me. I have the original version of it. So it's movies like that, or you hear about what, surprisingly of all people, Criterion Collection recently edited The French Connection.
Really?
And that made huge waves because it's now edited on both their physical release and their streaming.
Man.
So they made an edit to it, and a lot of like cinephiles got super angry about it. And so like we're in an age now where these things are and granted, like it goes back to the age-old debate of like, does a film belong to the director, or does the film belong to the production company, the studio that owns it? And so you can argue the merits of, well, we edited the French Connection. Well, what gave you the right? The artist wanted that scene in. Yeah. Why did you take it out? Well, because it's our product, right?
Yeah.
And so that, you start to walk this gray area of editing art against the artist's wishes, or maybe they don't even know that you're doing it. This is, a weird gray area we're in, but certainly I have the French Connection, a previous Blu-ray release of that, so I'm good. But like, what I'm saying? Like, if I can preserve, as if like in the future people are going to come to me and be like, Dustin, let me peruse your vast vault.
I've traveled across the country.
Film knowledge. Everything is edited, but you were told have the secrets. But it's preservation. Like, this is the version I enjoy. It's why I have Star Wars on VHS. It's like, this is the version I enjoy. And, it's always going to be there for me, regardless of what shenanigans you pull.
I just have a bunch of movies, and I have a whole list I keep to, for quick reference, like what do I own? And then like I'll sort of monitor current stuff, and I'll just sort of wait to a point and go like, all right, did I enjoy this? Especially if it's like a series, like, did I enjoy this enough to like want to own it? And so with the Disney stuff, it's just like right now there's no urgency, and
sure.
But then again, Pirates of the Caribbean is on my list to get on Blu-ray because I really love that movie, and it is on Disney Plus, but I don't want to own the whole series. I don't want to own 2, 3, 6, whatever. I just want to own the first one. And I used to, I gave it away. This wasn't stolen from me. I gave it to my friend. I was just like getting rid of movies or something. And I was like, and for some reason I gave that one. That was before Disney Plus, I think even. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
I think I sold my DVD copy of Pirates, which was one of the first DVDs I remember owning. You just like what you like, and you just want to own it as like, I now have that as part of my collection, and at least I'm that way. And like, TV series are weird though, because recently, around Christmas, I was given an Amazon gift card, and so I was like, okay, let me look at my wish list and see what I've what I have on there that's been on there for a while, and I'll just go ahead and buy a few things. And so one of those things was the complete series of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1987 series that I grew up on. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy that. So I bought it, and like, I watched the first episode, but I'm like, I now own this entire series. It's like 200 episodes or whatever, and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch all of this. And it's funny because I was thinking like, that's such a college purchase, because in college I totally would have like put on an episode or 7 of Ninja Turtles after class or something, and just like slowly made my way through that entire series. But now, as a husband and a father who has responsibilities and work and whatnot, it's like, I'm never going to sit down and watch all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Why did I buy this?
Right. Yeah, I've got some stuff on mine too. And I mean, I haven't bought a TV series in like 10 years. Like I have like Mad Men, and I don't even have all of Mad Men. I think I'm missing the final season. So that's on that wish list, but like, I'm just sort of waiting for someone to buy it, but it's only like $7. It's not even that much money.
Right. Sure.
But then the part of me is just like, but when am I going to sit down and watch Mad Men? But then it's like, I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while. Like I like the series, and I've got it.
If I did,
like, why wouldn't I? Like I bought it. I don't own The Sopranos. I've got Breaking Bad and Mad Men, and like 2 seasons of Sherlock, and then like one other show. But,
I was gonna say, how did you watch Justified recently?
Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like Justified's a show I would probably, own. But then it just comes down to, okay, is this worth owning on physical media to appreciate the detail and all the production design, cinematography, all that stuff? Like, is that worth it? Yes. But then the other component is, are you going to watch this? Like,
I'm going to watch it once every 5 years. Is it worth the physical investment?
Exactly.
No.
You know, I mean, if I'm going to buy these things on Blu-ray, I may as well buy like 3 Blu-ray players and just in case something breaks and they're obsolete or something. Cause otherwise all these discs are worthless. So yeah, I only have 1 Blu-ray player and it's in this desk and and so part of me is just like, I don't know, I should think about that. But then I guarantee if I buy one, my wife's gonna be like, why did you buy that? We have one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like they're gonna stop making Blu-ray players.
Not anytime soon, but eventually I said, but I think they only stopped making VHS like VCRs a few years ago. Yeah. Like it, and so like it'll outlast the physical form of, you know, the disc anyway. Just because they know they can still make a little bit of money off of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. I was talking to a coworker recently who said that their internet went out at home and they were like, man, how do we keep our kids occupied? Like, you know, we don't, you know, he's got like, you know, 10-year-old or whatever. Sure. And it's like, you know, how do we, you know, keep her occupied, like whatever. And he doesn't have physical media. And I'm just over there smirking like, I would love that scenario because everyone, like if the internet went out on our block, everyone would be like, what do we do? And I'd be like, all right, film class has begun, ladies and gents. Step right up.
I have this DVD player.
Yes. I have this fancy thing called a DVD player and a library of movies that are great. Step right up. Tickets are $5.
Yeah, let's make some
everyone on the block.
Yeah.
Make yourself at home.
Yeah, and like the thing is, you know, as long as you're going to have like a nice TV, and it's like, yeah, like most of what I'm going to watch on a given basis is going to be via streaming, just because I have it and I've got the convenience and everything. But the older I get, and the less like I delve into new things. And I start just settling into what I'm going to watch until I die. It's just going to be like, I'll just have a collection of movies, and it'll be just like when your grandpa puts in his old VHS of Gunsmoke, you know, and just, you know, and just watches it over and over again. Yeah. It's just, I'm going to put in a copy of John Wick.
Justified. Yeah.
Yeah. And on a Blu-ray player and on a TV. And I'm going to be screaming at my kids like, you see, this is what it's supposed to look like.
This is movies.
Yeah. And
not these new things y'all been watching on your eyeballs.
Yeah. But, you know, as long as my TV can like show 4K and a service I pay for wants to broadcasting 4K and my internet can support 4K, well, I'm here for it. I mean, I just don't want like buffering and stuttering and malfunctioning of a Fire Stick to ruin a movie. Like this happened. We were trying to watch Puss in Boots and the Fire Stick screwed up and messed with all the colors. And it was really strange. And then we almost couldn't watch it. And it's one of those things where you just go, man, I should just go to Redbox and get it on disc. And then I finally ended up getting it to work because we used the Peacock through the smart TV, not the Fire Stick, which luckily we somehow had it and it somehow was already logged into our stuff. Because that was my next thing. I was like, now I got to log in and fix it. And I don't know any of my passwords because they're all like saved on Chrome. And so the TV doesn't have Chrome. So how do I find it? It's just such a pain in the ass to sync all this stuff. And it's just a lot easier just to pick up a box and put it in the machine.
There you go.
You know,
that's right. I wish there was some way that you could like you have Netflix and they're like, we have Back to the Future, and you could like select and be like, I own that. And then they would like rebate your monthly fee. Like, oh, sorry, we're offering you things you already own. Here's a cheaper plan.
Do you think it'll ever bounce back a little bit, the pendulum, to where studios will like say, hey, licensing our stuff isn't really like, because part of me is like, okay, so streaming, you know, they're not making DVDs because they're streaming, and so you could just license it. But it's just like, for them to decide to make disc again, licensing would have to come way down in price. Like a service would have to go, we're going to pay you 1/4 of what we used to pay for licensing fees because we don't need it. We don't depend on it as much anymore.
I would imagine they're able to make more money from streaming, but also they get to skip all the production costs of all of those like, cause you think about like what goes into the production of a DVD or a Blu-ray. It's like, you got to create artwork. You got to buy the cases. You got to have artwork on the disc. You have to figure out, menus and, chapters and all of those things, right?
The menus.
Like,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Like somebody does that. And that's somebody's job to create the box art. It's somebody's job to figure out, like, is this going to have a slip cover or a steel book or a digibook? Like, there's meetings about this. Yeah. And so they eventually, like, if they shy away from all of that, all they have to do is just say, we have product, you take product. And then Netflix says, we accept product. Your money is. And they say, great.
Here's a serial number.
Yeah.
That links to the movie. There you go.
Here money.
Or whatever.
Take money.
Here's a file.
Cash
right?
check.
I mean, it's probably just a file.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how that works if they physically pass off a file or if somehow Netflix is accessing like a Warner Brothers server to show like, I don't know. It's an interesting.
It must be a file that runs from their own server. That would be the only thing I would think that would provide a strong signal, but I have no idea.
Yeah,
how computers work.
You're probably right. It's probably housed within Netflix, and then it's one of those deals where it's like, okay, now this title is no longer offered, so we trash the the content and
once the license runs out, you're obligated to get rid of the file if otherwise you're in violation of blah 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 contract or whatever.
Yep.
Oh,
well, I know from running the theater that it's so they would send a hard drive out for like premieres and stuff, but they would have a studio rep who would sit up there with you and watch you download that file to the projector, and then they would watch you delete it at the end of the night.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, I'm clearly not gonna have another opportunity to watch this for myself.
His job is he can't leave the room or pee.
Sir, delete the file. I'm trying. Yeah. I have peed in my pants 7 times.
I'm not leaving this room. I'm not.
I have to change my diaper. Would you please?
Speaking of streaming, we got a streaming movie to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Extraction 2.
Let's do it.
Getting you out of here, okay? You told me to find the reason I fought my way back. Let's find out.
So, Extraction 2 is a movie directed by Sam Hargrave, returning director, same director as Extraction. And we've got the screen. Now, who wrote the first Extraction? Wasn't it a couple of... who was the writer of the first Extraction? Oh, it was Joe Russo.
Yeah. I was going to say, I thought it was Russo.
There's story by 2 other people, but the's no story by credit here. So this is just pure blown written by Joe Russo.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got Chris Hemsworth is back as Tyler Rake, tortured mercenary. We've also got a lot of hard names. Golshifta Farahani, Adam Bessa, Olga Kurlenko, Daniel Bernhardt, Tina. I give up. Anyway,
Idris
Elba's in there as well. So the first Extraction sort of showed Chris Hemsworth's character trying to get a Indian drug lord's kidnapped son recovered in Bangladesh, but stuff goes awry. So Extraction 2, Tyler Rake is back and he has to get a family out of this prison in, where's it? Georgia? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And not
the U.S. Georgia. Well, Tyler Rake.
I spy with my little eye.
They also went back to 1887. Well, Tyler Rake.
Sue-wee. He has to get them out of a prison. And there's a whole criminal element there that does not want him to do that, and does not want the family to escape. Anyway, so this has been out on Netflix for a bit. We can do general recommendations, and then maybe we can talk more details for it. But I remember when we watched the first Extraction, I remember what I gave it star-wise, but I really like Extraction. I think it's really entertaining, and the action filmmaking is very well done. It differs from John Wick. It's similar to John Wick and different in the same time. Like, it's similar in that we've got a lot of like improvised killing. We have a very skilled protagonist. We have a lot of in-camera, action. But whereas John Wick is a lot of extended wides, Extraction, they employ cuts more often. But when they do an extended sequence, it's very long, and longer than any shot in John Wick, and is stitched together to appear to be one take when it is in fact many takes. But you still get the feeling of like this is all happening in real time. So both franchises make use of that in their own way. And both franchises are directed by former stunt people who know how to compose a thrilling action set piece. So the stuff in Extraction 2 is pretty dazzling. I liked Extraction 2 as well. I feel like it delivered on what was expected. If you'd seen the first film, it doesn't disappoint. Tyler and friends are put through a crucible, often without a good way out. So you've got a whole lot of like difficult maneuvering happening. Like, oh, the door we want is blocked. Well, let's go this really uncomfortable way with tons of things in the way. And now we got to climb. Oh, hang on, can't climb yet. There's a thing, The film delivers on expectations in that way. And on top of that, at least for me, they do a whole lot more with character in this iteration, more than they did in the first Extraction. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I'd watch it again. Well done. I love the first Extraction. So far, this is a solid franchise to me. And it really, I think, owes a lot to just Chris Hemsworth being a tremendous screen presence and charismatic and likable, and believable as, someone with infinite stamina. I enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I think I ultimately rated both the first one and the second one 3.5 stars. I think I may like the first one a little bit more, but I mean, they're both 3.5 star films for me. So that's enough to give you my recommendation for it. I do think that I wish there was more in terms of character than there is, but I understand that that's not really like what the film's going for. And so just like the John Wick movies, you almost look at these in a way that defies typical critical analysis and say, okay, look, this is not trying to give you this big dramatic character arc. It's more just saying, like, here's a guy, he's really skilled, let's watch him because it's fun. But in the same time, at least be captivated by what they're doing, even if you're not as captivated by who is doing it. And so, I think it's a good movie. And again, it's hard to fault it for things, but I do think like this film. So this film begins with Tyler's intense physical therapy process and like his recovery after the events of the first film. And I wish that had been given more of a payoff. But again, like, how much did the film go for in terms of like a realistic portrayal of recovery versus, it's a small speed bump in this really cool action hero dude's life. And like, I get it, because you can't fault John Wick for the same thing. Like John Wick, the guy's like falling off like 8-story buildings onto dumpsters and cars and getting hit like by vehicles and just being like, ugh. Right. And like, you know, shrugging it off. You know, they are superheroes, but at the end of the day, I guess if you even bother to bring up the idea that he's grievously injured, then I think that it should pay off in some way where, you know, by the end he's just unable to do something because of his physical limitations, and then that brings in a good idea of like, you know, for a character arc for him, like accepting physical limitations or working past them or whatever the case may be. You know, it just feels like if you're going to set it up, you need to pay it off. And I don't feel like they did that here. So that's sort of what I mean when I say, like, you know, I wish there was more character work. I wish there was more interest given to the characters, or as much interest for the characters as there is for just what they're extracting, and what their mission is. So that's kind of my only real big critique of the film. I think technically it's a good movie. I do think that one really long oneer was a little too long, but I'm really not going to fault it because that has style. Like that's the film's style and that's the film's goal and whatever. So it can absolutely be that if that's what it wants to be. It's interesting. Like while I was watching it, I was thinking, I think this is probably the best non-Wick series. Like, because you think about like how the action genre has changed, and it was, you know, this big burly Stallone Schwarzenegger thing in the 80s, and then it became, you know, whatever, you know, as time progressed, but it was just sort of like variations of that as it went forward, and it didn't really undergo another significant change until The Raid, which wasn't even a Hollywood movie, but it sent so many shockwaves through the world that, you know, it gave birth to John Wick, and it gave birth to all of this. And then John Wick itself was the Hollywood equivalent of the game-changing action film that after that you end up with, you know, all of your Nobody and Violent Night and Extraction. And I think of all of those post John Wick movies that were clearly trying to be John Wick, this is probably the best.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like John Wick and The Raid and have certainly, and we've talked about this, have influenced the way action films are made now. And they're the franchise that has taken the baton and decided what the gold standard should be in the genre. And a lot of people have taken that influence, but either it's been very minimal. Like Violent Night's all right, you know, but like I don't even know that that it even comes to mind when I think of of it's influenced by like the John Wick movies. But like then when you look at the action sequences, you're like, oh, clearly like there's a broad category of what John Wick is, like that fits into violent, brutal action, done stylishly. But there's so much more to what the series is than that. But most series go, well, we don't want to copy it exactly, but Extraction's the only one that's been like, we don't have to copy John Wick. Like we can do our own thing and still like take influence from it. And it might just be that stunt director mentality of like, I mean, I can think of some ways, whereas maybe a typical Hollywood director can't or won't. Anyway, this is on Netflix if people want to check it out. And it's been there for a while. So I'm going to talk some spoilers real quick, just to further some points. But so the film, it's a lot like John Wick 2. It ends with not as big of a cliffhanger, but but obviously like, all right, we're going to do a third one. Like it's clear, like with the first Extraction, it wasn't clear because it ends with Tyler getting shot and falling into a river. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess he's dead,
Yeah.
But then they were like, hey, we're going to make another one. And so we were all like, how, and it's as simple as just washing up on a river and people,
and he's fine.
He's okay. But like, at least in this one, it's just like, yeah, because we have this Idris Elba character who shows up for like 2 scenes. You're like, guy's barely in this movie. And it's because he's probably going to be in the third one a lot. Yeah. It was really cool to see the two of them, by the way, like I like Heimdall and Thor. I always like when you've got these people who are associated outside of like in another franchise doing more projects, like the example being like Lawrence Fishburne in the John Wick movies. Yeah. It's cool that he's in there. It's not cool that he never fights though.
Right.
That's not cool.
This is true. That's not cool.
No.
I agree. I think it's clearly setting up something, and I was like, oh, so he's like the Samuel L. Jackson of this franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, have they spoken about any? They haven't spoken about any crossovers with any other things, have they? Mm-hmm. That's all the John Wick people talking about that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but I like that there's some mysterious, like, employer that wants Tyler Rake's services and his friend and Nick, and I would love to see another film. I'd like to keep watching these. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm excited for the third film. Again, I don't know that it's one that just needs to continue on indefinitely. But yeah, I mean, because how many more times can we have like I'm sad about my son movie? Right. But yeah, I do think that I'm excited for a third one for sure.
Yeah, I think we've been talking recently about. We talked about it last week with the Indiana Jones episode. Like, when should things end? And with Extraction, it's like, a trilogy is always a nice number to shoot for when you're making a series. And going beyond that, it's like, well, if you're making a fourth, then a lot of times people expect that you're making a fifth and sixth. Yeah. Chris Hemsworth is in his mid 30s, late 30s. Like, how many more of these does he want to do? And I don't know. So, but for me, it's like, I'll take one more, but then you're kind of stretching plausibility for me. Right. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. I just wanted to talk with Extraction real quick. So yeah, it's on Netflix. People can watch it probably forever. So yeah, unless no one does, and then they remove it from the catalog. Right. Right. I don't even know why people do. What is it? Oh, for royalties. That's why royalties and I guess storage space. Yeah. What are you going to save 10 gigs on the Netflix server? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's Extraction 2, everybody. Yay. Okay. Thank you for listening, everyone. The next episode these people are going to hear is the Dead Reckoning episode. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. So that'll be fun. I hope you enjoyed our last Ghostface Protocol episode too. Yes. Talking about Fallout and Rogue Nation. So, well, when they inevitably make another Scream movie, we can revive that series. We'll do it again. All right, everybody. Cheers. Good night. Or good day. I don't know when you listen to this. Good day. Good day for Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth. When the movie started, before he spoke again, I was sitting there thinking, I can't remember if he's American in these or if he's not. And so I was like, so like they'd show him on screen and then he wouldn't talk and I'd be like, say something, please. I don't remember. Where are you from? Yes. And then he spoke and it was Australian. I was like, oh, good. Okay. Until you literally just said that, I couldn't remember either. I like actors who are from other countries to just speak their native accent unless the story calls for it. Like there's no reason Tyler Rake needs to be an American. Like just let him be Australian. Sure. Who cares? No one cares. Like Thor. Okay. He probably shouldn't sound like an Australian. You know, so that's got to be different. Colin Farrell's the big example. Like Colin Farrell's delightful in his Irish accent, and he just doesn't get a lot of opportunities to do it. Right? Yeah. So anyway, okay. He's also delightful as the Penguin. He's great as the Batman's on that list. By the way, that's one of those movies I would buy physically. Yeah. Yeah, because it's just
I have it on 4K. It looks great.
I'm going to pay this off real quick for anyone who's still listening, because I'm going to read you this list because it's a short list. This
is a short list of movies you would own.
Movies that I would like to acquire soon. I just have to find movies to get rid of too. So here's my list. So Guardians 3 is on that list. Pirates 1 is on that list. Dune is on that list.
Yeah. Yep.
Blade Runner 2049 is on that list.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman, all 4 John Wick movies.
Mm-hmm. And
then that was the recent ones. And then there's older ones than that on this list. Baby Driver is on the list. Spotlight is on the list. And then I've got like the Creed trilogy, but since the series isn't over, it's like, well, I'll probably just wait on that kind of a thing. But then there's like Prisoners, Arrival, Sicario, like all of Denis Villeneuve's other films. So
yeah.
And of course I'm presumably Dune 2.
I was gonna say I don't own Dune 1 because I assume they'll do like a double box set when Dune Part 2 comes out. Yeah. And then I'll just get that.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I was going on Amazon thinking like, all right, I wonder what these cost now. Like, one benefit of these being, I mean, they're cheap. Blade Runner 2049 is $10. Dune.
Yeah, Dune's $10.
Yeah, Dune is $12.90. I'm looking at on Prime. Yeah. And this is a film that came out 2 years ago. I mean, John Wick 4, a movie that came out this year, $20. Still not bad.
Not bad.
So
I mean, that's less than the price of seeing it twice in theaters.
Yeah.
So if you see it more than twice in your entire lifetime, you've paid for it.
So I went through this list and I turned it red, like the ones that I'll probably that I own that I'll probably get rid of and to give these spots to. Mm-hmm. Like I've got Whip It, which is a good movie. It's just I haven't watched it in years and I don't need to own it anymore.
Sure.
Due Date is on here. I certainly don't need to own that. And that I highlighted 3 Marvel films I would dip out of my collection. I get rid of Thor: The Dark World, Ant-Man the Wasp, and Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Like I feel comfortable getting rid of those discs.
Sure.
I can watch them all on Disney Plus. And if Disney Plus explodes tomorrow, I won't miss those 3 films. Right. Those are easily the 3 weakest for me. So
I don't own any of those 3.
Yeah, I just don't need to. So I would So anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, whoever stuck around for that, there you go.
There you go.
You're welcome.
Nice little epilogue.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.